You can't be loved by everybody. You can't be hired by everybody. So just be who you are and embrace it. So I called up FreedomWorks and I left, one of my trolling messages. I'm just a hustler, baby.
Welcome to Talent Freaks. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. Now this week, I'm thrilled to reconnect with a very special guest, DC Douglas. And some of you might recognize him as the legendary voice behind the iconic character like Albert Wesker from Resident Evil, and charismatic figures in video games, anime, commercials, radio, and TV for nearly 4 decades. But what makes this episode even more special is that DC and I go way back, all the way to 2007, when we did our first podcast together. And just recently, I was doing a Google search for this podcast and stumbled upon something hilarious on DC's blog, an AI-composed picture of the two of us, arm in arm. Now that image instantly brought me back to the fun, irreverent humor that DC brings to every conversation. It reminded me why I wanted to have him back on the show, diving deeper into his career evolution, his experiences navigating a rapidly changing industry, and of course, his unfiltered and fascinating take on the world. So get ready for laughs, insights, and stories from one of the most unique voices in entertainment today. But before we go there, I want to take a quick moment here. I know some of you are finding this channel for the first time, and a lot of you probably haven't hit that subscribe button yet. And that's totally cool. But if you like what you hear, why not stick around and like, subscribe, and hit that bell? And share with your friends. It helps this little community grow. All right, enough of that. Now, let's meet DC Douglas.
Thank you, DC, for joining me on Talent Freaks. It's been a long time, especially this prep.
Yeah.
So one of the things I just want to, it's been amazing to see you kind of progress and how your career has grown, and also some of the struggles that. Same here, my friend. It's happened. It happens to us all. But the last time we did that was 2007 was our last podcast, and a lot has changed. So just a general thing, how you been?
I've been up, I've been down, I've been okay. It's no, all in all, it's good. I mean, I still have my health, I got my limbs, it's been an interesting journey. So it's funny because the 2007. So there's this whole fake it till you make it thing that I did, or some people call it the secret, where you put it out and whatever, where you behave like you are a rich person and then you become rich. I didn't do that one, but what I did do is I put out there that yes, I'm a successful voiceover actor, because I was just trying to get like clients from the web. So that's how I presented myself. And granted, I had been doing voiceover on and off through the 90s, but once I started the website, it was like I got to really position myself as like one of the Hollywood, elite kind of voiceover guys, so I could get clients, and it worked for about a good 2-3 years there. But I remember I was just doing I just did a post on my website about this recent thing I've been through of redoing my website with ChatGPT as the coder. It's been an amazing journey. But in it, I found an old picture of my very first website, and I saw the text in it, and I said, like a 20-year voiceover veteran, and I'm like, oh, that's so funny, because it's like technically. I mean, I had been in LA for 20 years at that point, but I'd only been doing voiceover on and off for 10 years. It was a lot. It was like a fake it till you make it statement. And now when I literally have all of that, I can't get clients from the internet anymore. The algorithm changed everything. So yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I remember when we first talked, I was kind of on that blog. I was blogging, and we talked about like Google algorithms and how do you catch on and all the phrases and the backlinks and all that fun stuff. And you were like a student, and you're always kind of like looking ahead. And now that you said that you work with ChatGPT to build your website, you're always on the cutting edge of technology.
I'm just a hustler, baby.
Well, you got to be with what's going on right now.
Well, and also our whole industry. For those who didn't see the first interview from all those years ago, I'm an on-camera actor, but I only work here or there, and I've gone through a couple iterations of careers that way. But the bread and butter is voiceover, and that industry is changing dramatically in the last couple of years because of AI. So if this was 2007, I'd be scared about my future career because I wouldn't know what kind of career I could possibly have. A lot of the clients that I was able to grab back then, mom and pa hardware store, or like a company just doing their internal sizzle reel, all that stuff could be done with AI now. So they wouldn't pay the money, for, if you can pay, a $30 membership fee a month to get the AI to do it, and you're like, well, it's good enough, and that's technically it. It's just good enough right now. But it's like so all that work is gone, kind of thing. So and you remember, if you probably forgot that I do talk a lot, so feel free to shut me up. But there is a thing with our industry where so you had started in the 70s, and you had, well, obviously it went way before then, but the 70s paradigm was, it was a group of about 100 guys that made all the money doing voiceover. And then in the 80s, it started to open up a little bit more because they didn't want the old standard announcer types. So they started pulling in on-camera actors to do stuff. One of the first ones, actually, that would be famous would be for Jack in the Box. They pulled Dave Madden, not the football guy. I think his name was Dave Madden. It's an actor from the Partridge Family. He played their manager.
Okay.
And he did a whole different technique of voiceover for the Jack in the Box commercials that hadn't been done before. It was a non-announcery kind of quirky thing. And from that so that started to bring in a lot more people into the voiceover world. In the 90s, I started to break in. Then you had the internet. And then the internet, there was a thing called Voice Bank. Voice Bank became the place where then all of a sudden all the ad agencies, which used to have just individual relationships with agents, would then go to Voice Bank, and they just would like flood it with their auditions, and then all the agents would flood back the replies with the MP3s and stuff. And that worked really well for a good 10, 15 years there. And then a thing called voices.com out of Canada came and bought them and destroyed it. And then all of a sudden it was like, part of that journey, by the way, once there was the voice bank and the internet, then all of a sudden you could be in Atlanta and you could audition for something, and they could record you in a studio in Atlanta instead of LA. With the ad, so it used to be ISDN, which was this technical thing, really difficult for people to have in their home studios, though I did for a year, not worth the money. Then all of a sudden a thing called Source Connect came out, and then all of a sudden everybody could all of a sudden have remote sessions from their home studios. And so people started creating more home studios. I was one of the few people back in 2002 to start a home studio. So anyway, now you've got the playing field has opened up so much. And granted, there was more voiceover work to be had as well, because you had the advent of all of the cable channels, and you had streaming channels, and you had YouTube stuff, and you had all of these things became huge. And then the irony is, now you have this company come in, destroy the one hub that worked really well for the industry. So agents are now scrambling to develop individual relationships again. So it's kind of a mess that way. Then you have all these strikes back to back. That kind of messed things up. And then the pandemic. And then AI shows up. And now everyone's like, so all of a sudden, all these actors started their home studios that had never had them before because of the pandemic. So everybody's got their home studios. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, but there's not enough work because now they're going to use AI for that one. They're going to use AI for that one. And so in 10 years, it's going to be, so now you've got people all around the nation that like want to do voiceover work. And then all of a sudden, the available work for them is going to just narrow and narrow and narrow. And it'll be a journey. So, but I'll be retired by then.
Well, you've had an amazing career, but I think part of your career too is the connections that you've made throughout the years and the people. It's funny because every place that I've gone in my corporate work, I've come into a new spot, and then they're like, "Hey, we're going to use this," and I'm like, DC is already here. This is wonderful.
Oh, cool.
So it's, I mean, you're very well known and liked in the industry because how quick you are, how efficient, and your work is just top quality.
Oh, that's sweet of you.
And the great thing about that is like having those kind of professional connections are great. But as I know, and you know, like in companies, when they're trying to save money, they're going to go with what they can.
Well, yeah.
Whether
there's
it's other
too
jobs
that
or
are
something else.
There's things where it's also an improvement. So, for instance, during the last strike where they were negotiating AI stuff, there are a lot of actors that make their money by going in and doing ADR looping for live action foreign films. So, and it's still happening. You can still do that work, but they have a plugin now. Like you can literally go in, use the original actor's voice, doing any language, and it goes through frame by frame and changes the mouth. And it's a plugin. It's an algorithm, and it just does it. And it's only going to get better. They've had it. I think Google's actually already implementing it on their on their platform. But it's like companies are going to start using that. And when I think for me myself as a viewer, I'll watch more foreign films that are dubbed like that. Only because one, it's the sound of that actor's voice, so it'll feel more germane to them. That's the right word. But and then also it's you don't have the weird mouth issue going on. And that's why, so like I want to watch a foreign film, but if it's at midnight, I don't have the patience to read through the movie. But these voice actors who only make their money doing live action ADR, most of it, I would say. I mean, we all do lots of different stuff, and I did live action ADR, but it was not a big part of it. It also pays horrible. But they were saying, please save our jobs. And I was one of those actors that I didn't respond. Obviously, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but it's like you're a lamplighter, and electricity just came to town, and it's like there's really save your job. It's going to be better to have electricity go through those lights. And that's in that regard. There's other artistic places where that's not the case, and yes, there's artistry, craftsmanship, what have you, to doing live action ADR, but it's that was out of necessity. If it's not necessary to have actors come in and do it when you can do it electronically, why not do that electronically? So, I don't know. It's then there's other stuff where it's like, yes, it can do weird cartoon voices, but when you want to get actors in a room all playing off of each other, the chemistry and the idiosyncrasies that are there and the spontaneity that happens is very different than just telling, AI, be spontaneous and do something weird with this. And it'll do something, that'll be whatever. But, I don't think it matches a chemistry between people acting off of each other. So there are certain aspects of the voiceover world that will still be safe from AI, I think. And I know that, with any technology, we're going to go way overboard in one direction, and then people are going to start clamoring for more human, connection to their art and their media and what have you. And then they'll start to pull it back. And then they'll be like, when vinyl records made a comeback, then it'll be like that. We only used human beings in our thing. So, yeah.
And it's interesting you said that. So when we first kind of connected, I was at the Brooks Group, and we did this big like sales CD that we had to transfer and put it into. It was it a called sale?
Was it like was it all about like sales techniques? I vaguely remember. Yes. I learned a lot from doing that.
That's awesome. It's funny you said that. So the owner had all these audio CDs that he did through the years. He had like over 300 that he sent out to all his subscribers. And so I saw all these and I downloaded all of them, had them in a Apple playlist. I was like, dude, these could be podcasts. And so their idea was, let's take all these and modernize it. And at first they wanted me just to edit out like car phone or other things that were kind of backdated. And I was like, it sounds terrible. Let's just transcribe all these and then get somebody to read them. They were like, no, just do this. I was like, trust me, let's do this. So they actually had a guy locally in Greensboro who was a radio DJ. And because he had a good sounding voice, they wanted him to do it. And when he read it, it was just like, hi, this is blah, blah. And it was just flat. There was nothing to it. So I was just like, let's give it a shot. And then when you did your audition, they're like, oh, hell yeah, let's do this. And the whole reason why I bring that up, it's not about that thing. It's more about there's a difference between voiceover actors and people that just do voiceover. And one of the things that I hear all the time is like every Sunday, the New York Times Daily podcast, they have that story where a voiceover, I'm not going to say artist, but a voiceover person does it. And it takes away something because it's very flat. There's no kind of emotion to it.
They're not using a good actor for it then, so that's too bad. Or they're using AI.
No, not yet. I'm sure that's like down the road, but I don't know if New York Times will do that. But it's something that I hear now because I've worked with you and other voiceover artists that kind of go like, man, there is humanity in it.
When you realize the potential of what something can be and what someone's just phoning it in kind of thing. Yeah.
100%. And that's the thing that I've always enjoyed about, listening to you, but even like I see you on like not sales, but training videos for, corporate where it's just like,
right.
Make
there
sure
was that one,
A or
I
B.
did a whole bunch for that one company that apparently is everywhere. Navex Global, I think, or whatever they are.
Yes.
So where there's like a little cartoon mini me as well. I ended up, it kind of timed out well because I was changing my on-camera presentation. I had been the short-haired conservative guy for all these TV shows, and then I was becoming like the dad on Disney stuff. But I was like losing out mainly to like overweight guys, and I'm like, I don't like. I mean, I'm fighting my. I don't want to become overweight just so I can get work and be unhealthy. And also, it wasn't rewarding characters, so I said I'm gonna like change up my career completely. Going to grow my hair long, keep my goatee, and it's like if you can use this in your thing, fantastic. And there are some unique things that I can submit for and that I get, and I still work, and the stuff that I get is far more interesting. But I was doing the Navex thing as a favor to a friend because I'd known him since the early '90s, and he said, "So we got another Navex for you," and I go, "Oh, forgot to tell you, I'm growing my hair out." So like the last set that we did, my hair was actually a little. This is actually really short. I cut it too short by accident, but it was like right to here. So we had to like pretend it was like the old haircut with the cut in the put in the back and all that. Looks like I'm wearing a wig. It looks horrible, but it's like the last one that we did. And they're like, and I said, and he goes, "So you're not going to cut it?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, and I go, and I know it's the end of me doing Navex. So, but I still get fans, like people who know me from video games on Instagram, like sending me messages going, I just had to sit and listen to you for an hour today. Kind of funny.
Yeah, those things are brutal. So it's fun when I hear your voice. It's like, oh, all right, cool. This is awesome. So when the last time also, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say from that sales thing, I just wanted to say this. First off, I didn't have a home studio. I had I just had my Apple computer and living in an apartment, and like I said, and then the closet was padded with towels and things, and I was in the closet. It was before I even stupidly I'd print out the scripts and I had them on a music stand because that's how I was used to going into studios. It'd be in a music stand, and then the mic, and then I would snap whenever I messed up, and then later I'd go to Pro Tools and I'd look for the little spikes to do the edit. Until one day I'm at a session. And the Chuck Duran, Demos That Rock, fun guy. He goes, I did a snap only because I was so used to working at home. So I just did a mess of it. And I went like that. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry about that." I'm like, "I think I'm at home." And he's like, "Yeah, but what are you doing?" And I told him, and he's like, "Dude, just stop and start again. And then you can just tab to all your things." And I'm like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Wait, but I can't because I'm just me with the microphone and it's free running in the other room." And he's like, "Just get another keyboard." I'm like, "And monitor." and all of a sudden, I'm like a studio. So now I can run it from inside the closet. And it was like, it changed life. Anyway, but doing that thing, that sales thing, was back in those old days. But one of the things that it taught me was that whole thing about, I know this is so off sidetrack for business stuff, but I just loved it, which was always, always make the client feel like you're offering them something special. So for instance, say your rate is $1,000 for a thing. You say, "My usual rate for this is $1,500, but you're a good client and I will cut it down to $1,000 for you." Like one of those kinds of things. And I'm like, it's a brilliant idea. As long as they don't know what your usual is, it's a brilliant way to negotiate price. And so I've always remembered that. So
it's funny you said that because yes. Exactly. And that's, for me, that was freelancing and do my own thing. It was the same thing. They would talk about like friend prices and, other ways to cheap. And it's just like really good advice for a negotiation. So yeah. I'm glad you got something out of it.
Absolutely. Added value, baby.
There you go. And what we're doing here, this is like, so I've kind of progressed in my career where I've been doing a lot of like side stuff, passion projects, and that little thing behind me over here, Vimeo Award for a documentary web series that I did called Often Awesome. That was about a friend of mine who had ALS. And we did 36 episodes about him from diagnosis to when he passed away. But it was really about this community that came together to help him along the way. He was only 29 when he got diagnosed. So it was like his college friends.
How long was the process?
Well, he had a rare form, so it was genetic, and it happened like within 2 years by the time it went from A to B.
I don't know which is worse, having it like take for a long time or just make it go through quickly.
That is one of the most brutal things to watch. And I've also witnessed a friend, ex-girlfriend who had, she had cancer. So there's like two differences of ALS, the end is near.
Where there's
Cancer,
with you, there's battles and you think you can win. You don't know if it's, and at one point you have to make a decision. If you keep having the battle, to decide instead to let nature take its course, kind of thing. The ALS, though, how horrible it's going to get, which I know that there's some people. I think of what was that, Tuesdays with Maury or what have you, that guy.
Yeah.
That he had a plan with his family that when it got to a certain stage that they would take care of things privately. And I always think, especially with something that's as horrific as that, is that I would almost want to do something like that, because I don't know how much I'd want to be locked in a body in that kind of pain. I won't ask, because I know that I should just watch your series on that. So anyway, that's intense. Wow.
So, and part of the whole reason I said that is just to where I'm at today, and that's why I invited you, is talent freaks. So I'm celebrating, the journeys of talented people that I already know, and you're one of them. We haven't had lunch or dinner, but that picture you got on your blog looks like we're best friends. That was awesome.
I wasn't sure if I was going to get a cease and desist from you or not. So, but it needed a little image for my blog post, because I just thought it was neat listening to it. And first off, no offense, I don't remember doing the interview. I remember you. Okay. I remember working with you. I don't remember, because I guess it was a phone call. I don't remember any of it.
It was like a Skype call.
What's that?
It was a Skype call.
It was a Skype call. Oh, wow. Yeah.
No. So you're right. It was a phone. So I called from Skype because they had a recording on Skype. So that's how.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So for me, it was a regular phone call, but still, it was like listening to myself describing where I was at the time. You were probably the very first person to ever. I think I'd only been interviewed once before by the LA Times for something completely unrelated to my career. Because I wasn't anybody then. I'm always somebody, and I'm never anybody ultimately. But I didn't have a fan base or anything like that back then. In fact, I had just recorded. So the things that brought me fans, and for convention appearances, stuff like that, was Resident Evil. And I had just done it, or I was about to do it, which was Umbrella Chronicles, which was this character Albert Wesker, and I didn't know anything about it. And when I did it, and I didn't think about it, and then a year later they had me audition for RE5, which was the big one. And then all of a sudden, when I would tell people, they go, "Oh shit, you're Albert Wesker." I'm like, "Is that a big thing? I didn't know it's a big thing." And then I started getting, and that timed out with the whole blossoming of Twitter and all of that. And then all of a sudden, I have these 25-year-olds, I don't know, girls going, "Oh, he's so hot, like Wesker," blah blah blah. Complete mind effort. I'm gonna watch my language, because I'm in my early 40s, and I'm thinking my life's dead at that point. I figure well, I'm an old man now. Here I am about to turn 60. I'm like, I feel the sexiest I've ever felt in my life.
Dude, that's fantastic, man.
But it was like the weird connection of all these things happening and not knowing what to make of it at the time. There was no one to pull me aside and go, "Here's what's happening. Here's what to do. Avoid this." I needed somebody to do that, but nobody did that. But all that happened right after your interview. So it's like listening to innocent DC, who thinks he's got his life figured out and that this is how it's going to go from then on. It's very funny. Even talking about possibly getting a house in that interview. And then I did get a house. And then I was house poor for 11 years. We lived in Laurel Canyon. It was gorgeous. But every month it was can we make this $5,000 nut? It was pretty bad. Yeah.
And since then, I moved from North Carolina to South Carolina. Now I'm in Santa Clara, in California.
You're in Santa Clara?
Yeah.
Oh, you see, I'm from Northern California. So
you went to Berkeley.
Santa Clara is nice. I was born in Berkeley, and then I lived all around there. Concord, San Jose, San Francisco, all of that. So, but that's neat. Yeah, Santa Clara. Well, you got the California weather, but you still have the colder version of California. So when you come down to Southern California, then you really get the very stable weather all year round.
Man, I love this state as far as the landscape, the nature, all that stuff. The hard thing is living situation. Like you were talking about house poor, just renting and expenses are just, it's ridiculous.
That's the thing that people don't it's like that people, it's like, even though California's so expensive, so they think everybody's rich, but it's like, just because you have more money, your expenses are more, so you're essentially the same as if you were, trying to struggle by in another place. It's just the numbers are different. But I think the idea is that you're supposed to start here, make a lot of money,
Yes.
and then go to North Carolina, South Carolina, and get a place,
I know.
get a mansion, essentially.
I did the opposite. I started there,
Yeah.
and came out here, and I'm like, what am I
And I can't
doing?
seem to
So,
get the hell out of LA. So
well, that's a good thing. You have that remote job that you could do that from anywhere, right? Or do you
technically,
need to
well,
be
yes and
around
no.
this area?
This is the weird thing. I didn't expect this. So we had the pandemic happen, and then all of a sudden, all voiceover people were like had to have home studios all of a sudden, and like everyone's reaching out to me, going, "How do I? What do I? Blah blah blah." And so now everybody's got home studios. We rarely go into audition. Like most agencies, they have a booth in their office, but most of them are like just sending the auditions, and we're always just sending in like. And I have like 6 different agents I send auditions to daily that are around the United States because you have to have more than one agent these days. It's just so competitive. And so and then studios used to be, I've got like a full on booth here, a Whisper booth and all that, and I've got Source Connect, all of that stuff. And so usually I'm just doing that. But then all of a sudden, in the last year, they're asking us to come back into the studios. They're wanting, and the weird thing is, we'll go into the studios and they won't be there. They'll still be a phone patch. So it's like, but for some,
What the
I don't know.
hell?
And listen, if it keeps the studios going and all that, those locally owned ones, I'm all for that. I think that's part of it. I think what they're saying is like they get hired and they're going, no, we're going to have the actors come in to justify the fact that we have a studio. But so now it's like there's some clients I could still do remotely, but a lot of them, unless I'm in some a major place where I can go into a studio, just because they're going to want that, then it's like you miss out on those gigs. And of course, video games, when you're doing mocap, you do need to go into the studio. So that's why I'm like,
Oh, so you're doing mocap as well?
Yeah, I just did a couple games this year. In fact, that won't come out. I think they come out next year and the following year. So yeah, I do those as well. I mean, it all to me like mocap gigs are the same as my on-camera gigs. It's like one a year, maybe one every other year, kind of thing, or a couple of years. I just did a movie at the end of last year that is going to come out probably the beginning of next year. That I'm very excited for because it's probably I think it's the best acting I've done for on camera, and I think the film has got a really good chance of being like one of those like darlings, that people like a lot at festivals and stuff. So we'll find out. So I play the main baddie in it. So I actually play.
Oh yeah.
I play a guy who's my age, but we had to gray me up and all of that. He's kind of like not a mafia guy. Well, yeah, he's a mafia guy. But he's it's just so funny because he's my age. And I watched because I saw Rough Cut recently, and I watched it. I'm like going, I feel like I'm listening to my dad. Because he's like so old. He's old and he's kind of mean and he's slow and all that. And I'm like, and that's when I know I'm a good actor. When I look at it, I'm like going, I don't even recognize me doing that role.
Is that what inspired you in that role?
Yeah, well, I guess a little bit of my dad. Yeah. It was so well written. I mean, once you read it, you hear and you feel the character. So it's really cool.
So
yeah,
how did you get that opportunity?
I meander a bit. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. That's the beauty of editing. Make sure I didn't hit anything up here. So how did you get that opportunity to become Albert Wesker? Or is it Wesker or Weskler?
I like Wesker. It's Albert Wesker. So that came just from, I don't even know how I met them. So Cup of Tea Productions actually is the studio that started all of this for me. I somehow, God, how did I even run into them? I have no idea how I got connected with them because I was doing a lot of, back when they used voiceover for trailers, which they don't do anymore. But I would do them for like these couple of production houses, these crappy B movies. I'd go in and do their trailers. And then I was also part of no, that was over by then. I have somehow I got referred to that. Oh, could it have been that? So, okay, my very first video game voiceover was kind of voice matching the character of the Master from the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And somehow it was a random audition I got. I did it, and he actually sounds very similar to Wesker. And I went to this Century City, did the thing there. I think he referred me over to Cup of Tea because they were doing what they call localization of I've learned all this recently. JRPGs, or Japanese role-playing games, and they're very I don't know how to explain them. They're They're not cinematic acting, that's for sure. So, but I got sent over there, and I just kind of like started doing some of these things, not knowing what they were, not just like for the paycheck. And I
Mhm.
do feel guilty about it now, because some of it I feel like I could have done a way better job if I realized how many fans they had. I thought it was like, we're just turning this into English, nobody gives a shit, and so then they put it out. And that then led to and so that was Cup of Tea Productions. That also then led to me doing some other anime at the time, which is another story too that I kind of shot myself in the foot career wise with that. But so anyway, it was Cup of Tea. I auditioned being a voice match for the character Albert Wesker. He's had several voice actors. The actor Peter Jessup was not available. So and actually had the same agent as him. So I did a voice match for him in the audition. I got it. I went and I did it. I was like, I don't know, whatever. The whole game was weird to me. And I didn't like I felt constrained in the performance because I'm trying to match this other guy's thing. And I don't like have his sensibilities as to where he would go with it. And then when they were doing RE5, one of the guys who was handled like the stunt worker stuff and was part of the company that was doing the mocap of it, said, you need to keep DC Douglas. He's really good. He was a fan of mine. I really appreciate it. I don't know why he was, because I had never met him before. But I came in to audition for the mocap of it. Couldn't do it because I had thrown my back out because I just bought a house. And I was renovating it, and I wanted to be part of the renovation. So I'd go and pick up a bag of cement and bring it over to them. And they're like, oh, DC, we don't need you to do that. And in the process of doing that, I like threw my back out. So the mocap audition was horrible, but they kept me for the voiceover, and I did the facial cap for it. And so that was, I mean, that's the story of connecting that. And then randomly, completely unrelated, through my agent, auditioned for a game called Mass Effect. So literally in 2 years in a row, I did 2 major franchises. And that's what really kind of put me on the map for fandom and all of that, and then conventions. And then while at conventions, I realized, what are all these anime people? What is this anime thing? And I realized I had done one or two animes, and then I was called back to do some more, and I said, oh yeah, that pays too little. I'm not gonna, no thank you. They were very pissed at me. And I mean, they were really pissed at me, and I'm like, I don't know why. It's like, who cares? It's like you pay like, at the time it was like $50 an hour or something. And then so several years later, I'm at a convention and I see all these other anime actors, and I'm like, why am I not an anime? And then I remembered, I'm like, oh shit. So then I reached out to anime places, and I go, I'm open anime again. So, and who knew? Because even then it was just a grassroots thing getting popular. Now it's like Netflix. Half of their viewership watches anime. It's insane. And now I'm like, God, I wish I had a lot more anime under my belt. And most voice actors, a lot of like young actors you meet now, when they say they want to be a voice actor, they just want to do anime. And I'm like, which is still the least paying of work of all voiceover work you can get. It's so, but the conventions are fun, that's for sure. So that's where you kind of make up the loss.
How have you used that that kind of, convention celebrity status to help you in your career? Is that some like extra, money when you get invited to that, or how do you?
It's literally well, first off, you get to connect with fans, which is like better than online, right? So and also I've learned my lesson. I try not to do much online with fans. It's just people are weird. Let's just put it that way. People are weird online. But in person, you get to meet them. You get a bit more of a sense. Kind of like when you're like on a political post on Instagram and you start getting in an argument with some person you don't know. Could be a bot. Could be a 14-year-old you don't know. And you're like, whatever. So, but in person, I can go, oh, okay, this is, who this person is. You get more of a sense of the background and all that. The conversation becomes much more real. And it is neat to connect with them. So I enjoy it for that aspect of it. It is exhausting to do. But yes, you can make really good, especially these days, you make really good money at doing these, and that becomes a supplemental stream of income, and it also it keeps you in the mind of the fans, and a lot of the people now that produce anime or that working in anime are also fans of anime, and so it's kind of like this. It's a echo chamber, I guess, or it was the other word, starts with an S, symbiotic relationship, and so that keeps you in the loop on things as well. So, and I did it because of the traveling. I got to travel so many. I mean, I saw Dubai. I never thought I'd see Dubai in my life because I didn't think I'd save up money just to do that trip. And then I got a convention in Dubai, and that was cool. And then I saw Kuwait. And then, oh, I can't say that yet. I got a big thing
Oh,
coming next year that so different from everything else, but it still involves acting. And it'll be for my 60th birthday because it'll be happening around the time I turn 60. And it's like I'm just I'm over the moon about it. I'm very excited to be doing it, but I don't think I'm allowed to say anything about it until we get to beginning of next year. So anyway, and then I've been to Australia. I didn't go to Canada enough. I thought I'd get more Canada gigs, and then of course I saw a lot of the United States. A lot of it I never need to see again, but other fun places as well. So yeah, so that whole convention side has been fantastic. Now this is what's weird. It's like I don't feel my age. I don't feel that I've been in LA for 40 freaking years.
oof.
But we're doing a reunion convention appearance in Pittsburgh in a couple months of the Mass Effect cast, a portion of the Mass Effect cast. And it's just like, I'm part of reunion appearances now. That's what's like weird. Because to me, it's like, that job wasn't that long ago, but it was. So, yeah.
So I
Funny.
want to kind of dip back into your past just a bit. And one of the things that struck me, the thing I love about watching you and following you on social media is how political active you are and your voice. Like your values are pretty well known coming across. And it's to the point of like, you just had it. Like, screw you. This is how I feel.
Well, in my defense, I was outed. Well, no, I mean, okay, I was outed, but it still was my fault. So, okay.
Well, you're talking about, we're going back to the Tea Party message.
Yeah, well,
right?
this is
Or
why.
this,
So here's the thing. So I had a blog post. I had my website, and I was doing
Mhm.
blog for Google Juice. I would do these posts, and it would be like, I just went to Cup of Tea Productions, had a wonderful session, and they're lovely people, and I'll be in this thing, it'll be coming out, whatever. And that's it. And I go, or a post about, being an actor in LA is like something really just like mamby-pamby, like boring white bread stuff. And a little bit tone deaf too, when you realize like who's reading it. You're like going, nobody gives a shit that you did anyway. But I was trying like not to offend anybody, and I was doing it for Google Juice and for potential producers that could hire me. I happened to come across, go, well, he's a working actor, let's hire him. Again, fake it till you make it. And but in my private life, I'm raging liberal. And so with the Tea Party stuff, so this was during the time of Obama, and a thing called Freedom Works were busing in people, and they were because they didn't want the healthcare thing passed, and just like the rudest. I mean, essentially, they're. Can I be honest on your?
Yes,
Be honest,
please.
right?
Yeah, that's,
Okay. I hope
yeah,
I
I
may
love
offend
it.
some people that are watching, and I apologize but I am
I'm
who I
going to
am.
double down
But
on that.
the Tea Party was essentially was MAGA people. It's just before they were MAGA, they were Tea Party people, and they were, and so Barney Frank was a gay representative who was there, and they yelled out homophobic slurs at him. And when I heard that, my Achilles heel is I'm like boogie. What's boogie? Is bullying. Because I was bullied, and like most people or whatever, but I was truly bullied. Like I was ostracized from my school in 5th grade because it got so bad.
Mm.
And again, my doing. Somebody gave me 50 cents to run around the schoolyard jumping, saying I'm gay, I'm gay. So I went and did pliés and yelled that. Like I performed it because I'm an actor, and I got 50 cents. I was paid, probably my first real paid gig, and but that made me toxic to everybody. This is the late 70s, so being gay was a horrible thing to them, and so I got beat up every day. I was chased home. It was like even
Mm.
teachers were telling me that I needed to watch the way I behaved. Like, I was behaving too gay. Literally, I had a teacher tell me about gestures I was making. It was wild. Anyway, so this whole bully thing gets me. So when they were
Yeah.
doing the thing with the Barney Frank stuff, I was like, that got me. And so I called up Freedom Works, and I left, one of my trolling messages. And the trolling message got, so I guess they, so I left my phone number because I did want him to call me back, because it was, I wanted to debate somebody on the phone. I wanted to get my anger out. So I left my number. And so they figured out who I was. They found my social media, saw that I had just done, so I had, my biggest thing to date, it was a Geico campaign I did for 2 years in a row. But it was what helped me buy a house ultimately. All this happened after our interview. But then I was on a new Geico campaign that turned out to be a small internet campaign. It was not that big, but I thought it was going to be big. and I owe the IRS a shitload of money because I had a horrible accountant who screwed me up when I got the house and I had the campaign. And long story, anyway. So it was like going to be my saving grace. So that made this so much more painful when it happened. FreedomWorks found it. They found I posted a thing on Instagram going, just did a great session today for Geico kind of thing, and one of my being an actor promoting myself stuff, and again not being political. They found that, and then they conflated me with the Geico Gecko. Put out a thing on Breitbart, which is no longer around, but for those who know who Steve Bannon is, that's where he got his start. And conflated me with that, left my phone number in there, put a recording of my voicemail that I left, and said, and here's Geico's phone number. And basically went at me. Geico, of course, said, okay, we're going to drop you from the campaign because this is, we're going to go in a different direction, they said, which I don't blame them. And so I lost out on maybe like $5 or $10 grand, which is nominal compared to the campaigns I'd had before. But nevertheless, I didn't know, and I thought it was, so I was angry. And so then I decided to do a response PR thing, and I paid PR Web to put it out there on the internet. I go to bed, and I wake up the next morning, and apparently there was no other news in the world because it went everywhere. MSNBC did a thing on me. Fox News, I was breaking news on Fox News. Like it was like the fucking innocent. Sorry, but they're like the innocent days of me. Like now, it's like we have horrific things. We've got authoritarianism creeping around the country, and it's like same old, same old. But then it was like huge, and so I ended up being on. I did like a Geraldo show. I was on a couple different things. Anyway, but at that point, once I was out, and I was derided by this whole group of people that turned out to be racist, and I was embraced by all these the liberal side. And again, I'm not a fan of extremes, and there's some wackies on both sides. But then I'm like, well, I can't go back. Had a lovely session at Acme today. Great people and wonderful job. And you'll see it. Like, no, then I'm going to go, what happened today that I think is bullshit. And then so I just let it out at that point. And it was so freeing because once you're able to be fully who you are, it's instead of the fear of, I'll never work again by that person or that person. It's like, you can't be loved by everybody. You can't be hired by everybody. So just be who you are and embrace it. And the manager I had at the time, when it was all happening, she's like, these people are crazy. You gotta just be quiet and like hunker down and all that. And I'm like, no, this is the time you reach out to all your casting director friends and you go, that guy you just heard about on the news? I represent him. Let's get him some work. That's what you should do. She did the exact opposite. And so I fired her the next month. I'm like going, that's, again, a missed opportunity. It's like when it happens, good or bad, it's like work with it. So, so that's why I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't interact as much online now, only because 70% chance that it's just AI bots that you're arguing with. So there's no reason. And also you're not going to change people's minds that way anymore. In person, you can have a conversation or in a presentation format where it's Q&A and you can go into it. That people like when there's a human connection, you can have more of an impact. But online, when I just post a thing and somebody responds, and I'm going to no one's changing their minds on that stuff. So, and it's like, and here's the thing, all of that outrage for the Tea Party stuff, and then all of the outrage about Trump when he started, and I was saying all this stuff when he first started running, that this is what it was going to be. And I felt like, it didn't quite happen in his first term, so we dodged a bullet, all of that, and then it comes around again. I'm like going, oh, it's happening now. It's like, I raged against the night, but the night still came, kind of feeling. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
So a couple of things, DC, that I'd like to kind of touch on, and it's okay if you don't want to go down that road. And from a little bit of my research that I did, you talked about that you had some dark times, and you talk about mental health issues or awareness, where you said like sometimes that you went down a path where at least. Hold on, let me get my notes.
I'm curious.
I don't want to.
I'm usually a happy guy.
Yeah, it said Douglas has written about dealing with depression and bipolar swings, especially how career setbacks amplify emotional lows. For instance, being replaced on voice acting project put him in a depressive episode.
Did you get this from ChatGPT?
I sure did.
Now it's funny because I now can see how ChatGPT pulled that together. There is, well,
Is
you
it
were
through
showing
your
me screen.
blog?
It's a blog post called "The Bipolar Actor" or something like that. And if you read it, I'm actually joking in it, but I'm talking about how like it's a bipolar career because it's like I got a job, I lost a job, I have an audition, I didn't have an audition, but it's literally just that. It's not about full on bipolar stuff. Which, by the way, I mean I've had some girlfriends that have had bipolar issues, and I could easily go into that, and those were dark times for them, and I felt bad for them. But no, I have not dealt with any bipolar issues. But oh my God, that shows you just how screwed up ChatGPT can be.
Dude, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for calling that out. I love it.
That's well,
D-
it's
d-
like
s-
this is why, like I create more blog posts in my thing because I know ChatGPT will eat it all up, but you also don't know how it'll interpret it. It can interpret it in a whole different way. That's so funny that it has that there.
I came across this app. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Autopilot.
No, but I don't trust anything auto doing things for me on the stocks.
You'll appreciate this. So what they did was they went ahead and took all the most, I'm not going to say popular, but the ones who are benefiting from all the stock markets in the Senate. So for instance, Pelosi.
Oh, I
If
have seen this. Yes, and then it
yes,
follows their trades. The whole
yes,
thing is
and
it's a
then
little
you
bit
could
old news when we get the trades, but yeah. So have you been doing that?
yeah, and last year I did it very conservative, put some money into it and it's up about 18% over
Gee,
one
that's
year.
freaking great.
Yeah, and I followed Pelosi, Michael Burry, the guy who was in The Big Short, the Christian Bale
Yeah, I don't trust
character.
the
Who,
Michael Burry thing though. The weird thing here's the problem with the Michael Burry stuff is we hear the news about him like 3 months
yeah,
after he did something, so it always
yeah.
seems like he's being making the wrong calls based off of the timing of their presentation of his stuff. So it gets confusing. But he's like, you know, he's
I
like
had to
Apple's
pull
like at
out.
an all time high, and he's like, and he sold all his apples. Like, well, no, he actually sold before it went down, and then he bought it when it was down and went back up.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and
But
that's
all
the
right,
thing.
I
Is
will
like
check it out. I'll
it's
do like maybe I'll do like a couple $100 and see what it does.
yeah, and I'm not suggesting you invest a lot of money, but it's something that I was really surprised. And if my subscription fee, which I think is $100 a year, if it makes it its own money, it's worth it for
Right.
me. Just to try to do something like that. So,
It's a fun
um,
experiment. So
yeah, and I think their whole background with that is they don't want politicians to be able to have that kind
right,
of insider trading.
they
So
shouldn't.
they're like, well, if they're going to do it, let's follow them until it gets to a point where they're going like, we have to get rid of this. Now they have to legally make the claims 46 days or 45 days before or after they make the trade.
Hmm.
So like you say, there's a delay, but it also kind of like falls into places when their bills being passed, you know, it's not going to
Right,
happen overnight. So if
right,
they know
exactly.
this kind of stuff,
And you would think they'd build into the algorithm something that would like look at it and say, this obviously there was like there was a catalyst that has happened between when they filed and when we're getting the information, and since the catalyst has happened and it shot way up, that's when we don't invest in. So I would
yeah.
hopefully they work that into the algorithm. So I mean,
So
now you can start using ChatGPT to create your own algorithms for investing, and it's pretty wild. That's why I think the stock market in the next 3-4 years is going to be like there's going to be no way to understand like old charting methods are not going to quite match anymore. So
it's going to be all about like you were saying earlier, putting money in and then taking it out at the right opportunity. Um, and it's starting to become a game. It has been a game for years, but it's being more played now because
yeah,
of AI and also because people are sharing um, all the ideas online. And
and
there are
there's
a
also
few other
just
things.
there's so much retail in there now to churn. So they want to churn it more. So they want to mix it up back and forth. So
So I have an
I
idea for an app.
oh yeah.
So I think you might be interested in this. So it kind of plays with autopilot. And one of the things that I want to do is to have an app where you put in your zip code, and then every bill that's passed locally, nationally, anything goes, it kind of gives you a notification, and you can put in anything that you want about yourself. And it's more about being conservative. It's about being liberal. It's about your beliefs. And then when these bills come in, it says it's going to be like, how does this affect you? And I think if people on both sides understood that and had like a power that could come
Right.
through and be like, this is going to affect my taxes this much. Now,
Right.
am I going to be able to tell people that? No. So I'd have to rely on AI and other means to kind of translate those things. But I think having a powerful app that can,
I do love the
people can
idea,
look
but
at it.
also look what happened. Look what happened with Grok on Twitter. Grok was giving them some very middle of the road, was the election stolen? No, it was not stolen based off of these facts. And they're like, it's woke. Let's reprogram it. And it's like, if you don't want to hear the truth, you're not going to hear it. That's the thing. I mean, it's a fever, and it's going to break eventually. I really hope it's the Epstein thing that cracks it open. But the fever's got to break sometime soon. Hopefully before we have, all the cities under tanks. So
that's ridiculous. I can't believe, like, first LA, now DC.
our big test is going to be the midterms. It's going to see if they can mess up the election so much. The thing is I think that they're going to do everything they can to suppress voter turnout on it, and all these other recounts and shit like that. But because of the fact that there's more people dissatisfied with what he's doing now, that I think that, and especially in this redistricting stuff that they're doing, I think more Democrats are going to show up, or people will vote Democrat to fight back on this. And those numbers will then be seen, and then he will just say it's bullshit. He's going to, and he's going to use his military and all of that to say we're throwing out the results for this city and that district and that. They'll pick and choose. It won't be a blanket thing, but it's going to be enough so that he can control the outcome. It's going to be ugly.
It's scary. Like everything that's happening right now is one of the things that we've never experienced in our life, but this has been in works for years. This is not something that just happened overnight.
This is the fever dream come true for. The dream was the dream was of a whole different set of people that actually had a different set of values, but they would have still embraced a lot of these aspects. It's just who knew that this current crop would just be so craven. Like it's just amazing how to think that like power matters to you that much more than decency. It's just, that's what I just find so shocking.
One of the things I love to do at the end of all this is to ask you, like, now what? So for you, now what?
Shit. No. Now what? It's so weird because, like, I guess around 53 is when I broke up with my girlfriend, sold the house, went single. And then had to figure out, this is kind of personal, but I don't care. I've spent my whole life always being in relationships, going from one to the next, and like thinking that I needed a relationship, partly because society programs you that way, partly because it was, modeled behavior, from parents. And so there was one period in my early 30s where I was like, I'd been single for like about 2 years, maybe 3 years. And I was like, well, I'm starting to enjoy this. Like, oh, this is where you no longer are like, am I worthy? I need someone to love me to feel like I'm worthy. And I was getting to the place where like, yeah, I like me. And I like kind of like how this is. And then but I was still looking. And then I met somebody. I'm like, boom. And then gone to the races for 15 years within that relationship. And then, so I'm out of that. And so this is leading to I will answer your question. So in my 50s, I've been, well, I don't need a relationship. I know that I'm a fun person. I know I'm, all these things. So I'll go and have fun. It's nice to get affection and attention and things like that. But I love my bed. I love having the bed to myself. And I love the daily routine. I'm not lonely on the daily. And then I realized, oh, I'm never lonely. And I don't have a lot of friends in LA anymore because everybody got old and like they don't do things, or they still have families, or they moved out of LA. So I have like maybe 5 good friends in LA that I can see, but otherwise it's I'm usually home or I'm going to a convention or something. But it's like, but I'm never lonely, and I've got my cats. I love my cats, And I'm like, so what? And then I was in therapy at the time because of the breakup and all. And I'm like going, is this normal? And I even noticed that my therapist had like a bit of a bias towards, well, you're going through a thing and then one day you'll bubble like, and I'm like going, yeah, but maybe I won't. Because I think she also wants to see me in a nice relationship because she's like a good Jewish lady. But what's my point about that? So what next is, so a big part of my 50s has been, that just made me flash on. I remember meeting an agent in my 40s, and I was trying to get a new agent, and he was like a couple years younger than me, and he had like a little questionnaire thing that he had for me, and he's like, "What's your 5-year plan?" And I just looked at him. I was just like, and I'm like, I did not expect that question because one, I'm not in my 20s, and two, I'm just like, it's like this in this business. My 5-year plan is just to keep working and to find other jobs and things like that. He did not like that answer. I'm like going, I don't want to be the dog that keeps chasing the car. I'm going to just sit here because another car will come. And he didn't like that answer. So my 50s, I've not been chasing any cars. In fact, that's when I said, I'm not going to audition for shit I don't want to audition for. I'm going to change up the product that I'm selling now. I'm not going to try to be the thing that they want. I'm going to be a thing that I like being. This is who I wanted to be when I moved to LA. And I'm being that now, 40 years later. And I've booked some things, not a lot, but you know what? My booking is kind of similar, on camera I'm referring to. My bookings are similar to what they were before as far as how often I get booked. The difference is I'm not thinking about the fact I haven't worked in 3 months or 6 months or a year. I don't think about it anymore. I'm not on the treadmill. Granted, part of it is because I have voiceover that I can fall back on. I don't have to get a survival job just yet. And I have a pension that I pulled early. But that's, so the only thing I can think of is that and it's just a thing I have. It's just a phrase in my head, which is I don't want to die in LA. So when I get to a certain age, whatever my life looks like at that point, if I have the means, I would like to move myself towards the equator. If it could be an island, great. If it has to be South Florida, then it is. But I want to be, I like balmy, I like humidity, I like warm water that you can see the bottom, which is not the Pacific Ocean. I hate the Pacific Ocean. And I want that kind of life for the last, 10 years, assuming, but I got to be near U.S. healthcare because I'm going to try to stay in shape, but, you never know what genetic switches get switched as you get older. So I know it's a weird thing. So what next? I don't know. Right now, I'm still doing the hustle, but I'm doing it on my time clock. Not like I'm not panicking anymore. There's nowhere to get to. I'm not going to be discovered. This is the career. So it's more just being in the flow and the day to day. So,
well, thank you so much, DC. Yeah, you answered the question. That's perfect.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you so much,
sure.
and thank you for coming on and just rekindling this.
Well, this is just so neat because I have these two like bookends things of my career from you. So that's neat. I appreciate it.
It sounds like good things are about to happen because last time we talked, it took off. So here we go again.
Right. Oh my gosh. What if you were like the instigator each time? Woo! I've got my series next. Yeah, baby.
Thanks, DC.
I want to thank DC for joining me on this great reunion episode. It's been incredible to hear his journey from our early days back in 2007 to his current thriving career, adapting to new technologies and challenges with the same sharp wit and honesty that we all love. Whether it's voice acting, on-camera roles, or his bold presence on social media, DC reminds us what it means to be true to yourself and keep hustling on your own terms. And be sure to check out DC Douglas's work at dcdouglas.com and follow him on social media, where all his profiles and latest updates live. All the links and info will be in the description for easy access. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell, and share with your friends to help more creative minds discover these stories. Your support truly makes a difference. And if you want to know more of my work, visit talentfreaks.com, where you can explore some of my video work as well as my current passion for photography. If you have ideas or guests that you'd like to see on the show, don't hesitate to reach out. I love bringing fresh perspectives to the podcast. And until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.